What's up, everybody? This is Destroy R, your coach of the Washington Wake Pokemon draft team. I'm really excited to give you guys a low-tier draft analysis today. This is with Meloetta Draft League. I actually admin in this league. You can check the description if you want a link to come check out the league yourself. We're currently in between our major seasons. We're just doing a kind of a shortened off-season activity. And it's a hyper low tier. We've done a low tier before. This one is a bit lower than that. Many of the top threats, like Walking Wake, are not available to draft in this format, and so it gives it a little bit more of a spotlight to some of the lesser used mons. So yeah, let's check it out. This is the first mon that I drafted. It's Jolteon. I picked Jolteon because it was allowed to Terra, and if you're not familiar with draft, typically you're not allowed to Terra any mon except for your Terra captains, and only certain lower tier mons are allowed to be Terra captains. You have to pick just a couple of Terra types to use on each of your captains. Usually one of those has to be a stab typing, and so these are the typings that I chose for Jolteon: Electric, Grass, and Ice. Ice, of course, gives it an additional offensive presence. The Bolt Beam combo, they call it, with Ice and Electric is pretty much unresisted to every Pokemon in the game, unless there's some newer one that I'm missing, or some kind of a Terrid mon that adds an immunity to a resistance. But yeah, I picked Jolteon because it was the best Terra Captain available that I could see, and so I just went for it in the first round. It's got elite speed, faster than almost everything. It's got two great abilities in Volt Absorb and Quick Feet. Volt Absorb, adding that electric immunity, can be really great. Always good to have immunities. And Quick Feet is really nice as well, because essentially it's like a booster energy for Jolteon. It's 130 base speed already, and giving it Quick Feet, you can give it a Toxic Orb, or a Flame Orb usually is the preferred option. Toxic would work as well, but it kills it a little bit faster than Flame Orb, and that will allow it to essentially be outsped by nothing, save a few top tier options. But next up, I picked Donphan, Baby Great Tusk, or maybe Grandpa of Great Tusk, since it's from Gen 2. Anyways, it's a thick boy. We like our thick boys on this channel. Always good to have some bulk. Just allows you to make more plays and allows a little bit more room for error. It's got pretty good attack as well. It's got 120 base attack as well as 120 base defense. And it has good roll compression, which is always really nice to have in draft, since you've got a limited amount of Pokemon that you're working with. It can do Stealth Rock, which is kind of essential to have on every team, and in my opinion, at least have that as an option to kind of prevent focus sashes and be able to just kind of wear teams down over time, as well as it gets Rapid Spin. It has a number of coverage moves as well offensively: Knock Off, Ice Spinner, even gets Ice Shard for priority, tricks like Endeavor. Yeah, it's just got a lot of good options, and never actually used this one before. I've used Great Tusk a couple of times and really liked it, so we're going for the low tier Great Tusk here. Third up, we have Regidrago. Regidrago actually went undrafted initially. Part of the reason for that is this format only has 6 teams per division, and so there's actually a pretty good pool of mon to choose from, and some good mon like this go undrafted. I ended up trading out Hydrapple for this in free agency. We do a grace period at the end of the draft where everybody can kind of get free transactions to pick up whatever undrafted mon there are, and trade those out with mon that they did draft. And so I traded out Hydrapple for Regidrago, got my dragon. I always like to have at least one dragon on my team if I can, but I just wanted this thing because it is just immediate dangerous power with dragon energy. It's a 150 base move. Its ability gives additional buff to dragon type moves. And if you're not a fairy, if you're not resisting dragon, this thing just levels almost everything with dragon energy. If it's full health, dragon energy decreases as your health decreases. So it's got other options as well. It's primarily attacking with dragon moves, but it's also got some ground coverage, and a couple other odds and ends as well. But yeah, it's just a powerful attacker. It can be special or it can be physical. It's got equal stats in both of those. Stats, you can do Dragon Dance with it, Choice Specs, Choice Band, just a good variety of options. And it just seems to be one of the more powerful attackers in this format, and wanted to have that on my team. Gallade. Gallade I've been wanting to try as well. It's one of the more powerful physical attackers in the format. It's not super fast. It's only about 80 base speed. I think it's got around 120, 125 base attack, but it also gets Swords Dance, it also gets Bulk Up, and it's got a couple of different abilities, but its main ability is Sharpness. Sharpness adds a 1.5 boost to cutting moves like Leaf Blade, Psycho Cut, Sacred Sword. So once you get that buff, plus Stab, plus whatever item, this thing can have some immediate power as far as breaking walls and applying pressure. It can also do Swords Dance. I think we talked about that already. It's got Trailblaze and Agility as well, and it's just got a really deep move pool beyond attacks. For attacks, it has lots of good coverage moves. It's got Ice Punch, Knock Off, just a variety of different options to where there's really not that many Mon that can just comfortably switch into it until they know what moves it has. And it's got lots of good support moves and status moves as well. It can do Destiny Bond, it can do Thunder Wave, it can do Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, just lots of different things that it can do to kind of force progress or to surprise things in a match. And just like Iron Valiant is one of the most coveted and flexible Pokemon in regular draft, Gallade, its relative, is I think one of the top options in lower tier here. Next up we have Fezandipiti. I just really like this Pokemon. I draft this one fairly regularly in regular draft as well. Just the Fairy and Poison typings are two really nice typings to have on a draft team. Two ones that most teams like to have at least one Mon of each of these types. This one fits both of those roles on my team. You want to have a grounded Poison type just to keep people from setting up toxic spikes freely on you. A grounded Poison type can switch in and absorb toxic spikes, of course. And Fairy to keep things like Regidrago from just going totally wild on you. And so yeah, great typing. It's a pretty defensive Mon. It's got U-turn, it's got Roost, it can, so it can recover. It's also got Calm Mind, it's got Swords Dance. Its special attack and attack are about equal, so it can do either. It's not a super strong attacker immediately. Usually needs a little bit of setup in order to be a big threat, but it's got options for doing that, so that's cool. Its ability, Toxic Chain, is really nice as well. It's got, I believe, a 30% chance of making something badly poisoned if it hits it. You can also do Technician with it as well and do some multi-hit sets with Tail Slap or Beat Up, and that can help to boost power additionally there as well. But yeah, it's just a good flexible Mon, and really excited that I was able to get that one on my team. Alomomola, beloved by whoever has it, and annoying AF for anybody that's playing against it. Alomomola is primarily used as a Wish Passer, but it's not its only tricks that it can do. It's kind of a slow pivot. It's got the Regenerator ability. You can combine Regenerator with Flip Turn or with Baton Pass to come in, take a hit, and then to switch right back out into something else afterwards. So it just does a great job of soaking up hits. But yeah, it's wish passing as well. You can do a wish on it, flip turn, and then typically you can bring in something safely to receive healing, and so it can just be a really great support for your whole team. It's pretty lacking offensively. It can do some kind of annoying things like Scald, where you can threaten physical attackers with a burn, but that is kind of its weakness, is it's not really allowed to do, or not really able to do a lot of offensive pressure. And of course, its name is a palindrome, which we appreciate. Alomomola. Talonflame. Pick this one up kind of to shore up a couple different things on my team. It's really fast, which I like. I always like to have a couple of pretty fast options. We've got Jolteon already. Most of the other Mons that we've had so far are either slow or kind of mid speed tier. Like Gallade is around 80, Fezandipiti is under 100. I think it's actually at 99. This one's at 126, I believe. So it's faster than almost everything. Got a couple of good abilities in Flame Body. You can kind of catch people trying to U-turn and pivot on you. It quadruple resists bug moves and will give a chance to burn them if they're trying to pivot on you. So that's always really nice to do. It also has Gale Wings, so you can come in. If you have full health with Gale Wings, it gives priority to flying type moves. So if there is something that's faster than the 126 base speed, you can come in and use Gale Wings to potentially outspeed it and hit it with the Brave Bird, or to set a Tailwind with priority. So just some good stuff there. It can roost, it can status, it can do Will-O-Wisp if Flame Body isn't enough already. It can defog, taunt, it can U-turn itself. It can even do sweeping as well. Its attacks are not super high, but it does have some stab, 120 base power attacks, and Brave Bird and Flare Blitz, which can allow it to do pretty good chunks of damage, even though it doesn't have a super high attack stats. And it can do also Swords Dance and Bulk Up, which are kind of uncommon on it, but certainly could be fun options at some point in time. And yeah, I've got a couple of fairy weaknesses. I've got a couple of ground weaknesses on this team. So defensively, it resists fairy, it's immune to ground, and it just kind of helps to give me a potential option to switch into when I have those Mon out. Next up, we have Umbreon. Another thick boy. This is a thick dark type specifically. Yeah, Umbreon is just, it's just really strong, both physically and specially defensive. It can be either one that you want. It can be both. One thing that I really like in a defensive Pokemon is the flexibility to do either or both. Certain defensive Pokemon are a little bit more one-dimensional. Umbreon can be whatever you kind of need it to be in any given match. Also, in low tier, Psychic can be a really strong typing offensively. Somebody in my division does have Indeedee. I've played against Indeedee in other low tier meta, and it sets up terrain for itself. It does Expanding Force, and it can kind of just blow through your whole team if you don't have a resistance or a check to it. Something like Umbreon can come in and is immune to Psychic types, and can it's just a valuable immunity to have. Good typing overall as well, just with the Dark resistance. Dark is kind of a common offensive typing as well as Ghost. So typing wise, defensive profile, it's just a nice one to have. It also can do Wishing, similar to Aloma. In this league, you're allowed to use Baton Pass to Dry Pass. As long as you don't have any stats or substitutes with it, you're allowed to use it as a pivoting move. So you can use Umbreon as a slow pivot by wishing and then using Baton Pass afterwards. It'll take the hit and pass off the wish to the next Mon if that's what you want to do. It's also got good status moves like Thunder Wave and Toxic. It's got Foul Play, which if you don't resist it, will do a pretty good chunk to a lot of physical attackers. So yeah, it's got good options, and I think it's the coolest looking of the evolutions, especially the shiny form. No diss to my number one overall pick, Jolteon. He's probably next in line there, but glad to have a couple of nice evolutions on this low tier team. And next up we have our boy Crocolore. If you watched my other draft analysis recently with Soldew, you likely have also noticed that I have Crocolore on that team. He's just a really nice budget Pokemon for the most part. We had a budget as far as points to get these Pokemon, so you can only buy so many of the higher tier options, and if you want to really maximize your budget, you got to find some cheap, efficient Pokemon like Crocolore to round out your roster. He was only 2 points in this league, which is really cheap, and he's got Unaware, and with a Violite, he can be very, very thicker than Crocolore. Problem with a Violite is just that you don't get to have another item held if you're reliant on that one, so you can't put on heavy duty boots or leftovers or something like that you could on Skeledirge. A Violite, Eviolite, I call it both. Anyways, Terras that we picked for him: Fire, we have to have a stab typing. Fairy, just because Fairy is a generally good defensive typing. And I picked Steel for my third, just because I don't think that I have any Steels on this team. And so having a bulky Steel is something that I felt like could be helpful in a number of situations. And I just wanted to add that typing coverage to my team. Next up we have Swadloon. Like Crocolore, only even cheaper. Swadloon was only 1 point. I had 1 point left to spend. Not only was that points helpful for my draft budget, like I was starting to say in the previous slide, but also for my Terra budget. You've only got so many points that you can spend on Terra Captains. Actually, I guess I didn't make this one a Terra Captain, did I? That'll apply to the next slide. But yeah, Swadloon, reason I got it, it was 1 point. It has sticky webs as an option to my team. It's also pretty thick. Again, can have Eviolite, a Violite, whatever you want to call it, and take some hits. It's pretty passive though. It's got really lame offensive stats, so you don't want to do too much with it or leave it in too long to get set up on. But yeah, it's got webs, and even if you don't use webs, it's nice to have webs as an option because it forces your opponent to plan a little bit more for your team. If they ignore that you have webs and you set webs up, it can be a huge game changer for them. Also, its shiny looks pretty cool. The red eyes on it, I think, look really sinister and badass, and so we're happy to have Swadloon on our squad. Last Mon that we drafted, or rather got eventually in free agency, is Gloom. Gloom was another 1 point Mon. This is kind of where I was going when I was talking about the 1 point Terra Captain. For Swadloon, is I needed a good 1 point Mon to get a third Terra Captain with my budget, and Gloom is the guy for the job here. I've actually used Gloom in higher tier leagues as well as a Terra Captain, and worked quite well at times. Again, it's another one of these middle evolutions that can have Eviolite and can be really thick. Gloom in particular can be really annoying with a number of different moves. It gets Strength Sap, which keeps it healthy, drains down physical attackers. You can do Sleep Powder, you can do Stun Spore, you can do Toxic, so you've got pretty much every type of different status other than Burn that you can use with it. And yeah, you can even set up with Growth if you want to be more offensive. That's not super viable overall. I mean, it could be used in certain situations. Usually you would do that if it was on a Sun team. But yeah, it just gives me another cheap Terra Captain that is beefy, has some annoying moves, and definitely can be helpful in a number of matches. So, and yeah, that's the team. Really excited to try them out. Let's take a quick look at our schedule. The way we have this one set up, we have 3 different divisions of 6 teams. Top 2 from each division will advance to the playoffs with the teams from the other divisions. So it's essentially kind of a round robin format. It's just a short 5-week season, and these are the 5 other teams that we have in my division. Week 1, I have Zach and the Canadian Sarah Ledges. Really good player. He beat me in the finals of another league recently, so I'm a little bit bitter about that and wanting to seek revenge. We got Geeked Reptiles from our friend Dyer. He's known for doing theme teams. He's doing a reptile theme team this season. He's done a lot of other cool ones like dogs, cats, monkeys most recently. We love Dyer and the creativity that he brings to the game here. Bronx Bombardiers with Eli. One of my favorite guys to play. Super nice guy. Super great player. The season of Meloetta Draft League, Season 3 that I was able to win, I faced Eli in the finals, and we had a great fight there. So, yeah, definitely a great player. Last two teams, I haven't had a chance to play them yet. Looking forward to being able to do so. We've got the West Texas Arcanines. Haven't played this player yet. I know he's a champion in another league that I'm in, actually in the Soldu Academy Association that we did another video on recently. So, former champion there. Lots of former champions and just high-level players in this grouping here. And we've got I believe it's the Connecticut Storm. Sorry, he doesn't have the name on the logo. I apologize if I got that wrong. I believe he's the Connecticut Storm. Don't know much about him, but excited to find out. So, yeah. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll be coming out with some good low-tier fights pretty soon. Cheers.